please log into Calyx Point. And when you come up to the main screen, you're going to click on New Blank File, and say OK. This will bring up a blank 1003 or loan application to complete. So you're going to fill in the person's first name, last name, potentially middle name if they want to include that, their social security number, and their date of birth. Okay. If there is a co-borrower can only be a spouse. You would enter their information accordingly on the right-hand side as well. The best point of contact, if they want to give you, some people don't have separate home phone or cell phone, but you can just enter whatever phone numbers they have available. Cell phone, business phone, we definitely need their email. Okay. Then you want to find out if they own their home or if they're renting. Depends if this is a purchase or a refinance, so you'd want to ask them that question as well. For this particular example, we're going to say that this is going to be a refinance, so they own their home. They've owned it for 5 years. Fill in their street address, city, state. Oops. Okay. And if they are refinancing, then their subject property address will be the same as their present address. Their loan program depends if this is a conventional loan, or a government loan, which would be FHA or VA. But we are going to say this is a conventional, so do you 30-year Fannie Mae. The originator will be Ulysses, processor will be me. Typically for note rate, just as an average, we can put in 4%. And let's see. Then from this screen, this is your borrow information. Now you're going to go to the loan application page 1. Some of the information carries over. So the loan amount will be the amount that the property is worth. And then you will want to make sure you get the borrower's age, number of years in school. Let's say, okay, whether they're married, separated, or unmarried, and then how many children they have. If they have 3, you'll want to get all of their ages, and you can separate their ages by comma. Okay. Their mailing address, if they have a P.O. box, then you would put a different address, but if it's the same as their current address, you just click the present address. If they've lived in their home less than 3 years, you would want to include a former address, but since this is more than 3 years, you don't need to do that. Now you're going to go to page 2 of the loan application. You want to put in their employer's information. So with the complete address, what it is they do, and how long they've worked there, the business phone number. So the years that they've worked at this particular company and the years that they've actually worked in the same profession. So the years on work is being in the same profession, and the years at this particular company would be the years on the job. If they've worked for less than 2 years, you would want to include any former employees. And you can do that by hitting New, and then you could add in their previous employers. You need to go back at least 2 years. Okay, you would want to ask them what their gross income is. That's before taxes. And I always like to say before taxes because sometimes people don't know the difference between gross and net. If the borrower, where you put a B, if it's co-borrower, you put a C, also has other income, for instance, Social Security, retirement, pension, you can click on this drop-down alimony, child support, and gives you a variety of different other sources. So let's say if they're getting Social Security disability, you would put that amount here. And then this amount carries up into other. Okay. You would want to find out what their current mortgage is, broken down by principal and interest payment, taxes, and insurance. So insurance is homeowners insurance. Taxes probably be the property taxes per month. If they have mortgage insurance, you would add that amount. If they have a homeowners association, you would need to ask them about that and what that amount is on a monthly basis. On page 3, you'd want to ask them about any assets that they have. Could be checking account, savings account, money markets, 401k, any type of stocks or bonds. So here is checking and savings accounts. You would click New. You pick the type of account that it is. So if it was a checking account, you can put the type of account that it is, maybe just the last 4 digits of their account number, and then how much their average balance is. And you can enter that as many times as many accounts as they have. For vested interest and retirement accounts, you would want to put that amount here. And of course, any stocks and bonds would go here. You could also add automobiles if they have any cars that are paid off. Liabilities, this would be requesting credit. We don't do that until later. But you could ask them if they have any other types of liability besides their mortgage payment. For instance, car payments or high installment payments on other types of loans or credit card payments. On this schedule of real estate owned, this would be if the borrower has more than one property. So in this section, you would say new. You would enter their current address. And this is the subject property. Okay. Let's see. Back on page 1. Let's see. On page 1, we need to designate if this is a refi, so it's a no cash out refi. If it was a purchase, you would click here. So going back to page 3, when you go back to the real estate owned, now you have the option to mark that as subject property. And then, of course, this information can be filled out once we know the actual value. If they owned another, say, rental property, you could put R here for rental. These are your options: sold, pending sale, or rental. That's what the S, PS, or R stand for. We're going to say that this is a condo and that this is a rental property. Again, you can ask them how much it's worth, if they have a mortgage on it, and if they're collecting any rent. Okay. On page 4, you are going to just go through this list of declarations, these questions, asking them if they have any judgments against them, if they've declared bankruptcy within the last 7 years, and you just check yes or no. If they've had a foreclosure, if they've had any lawsuits, if they owe child support, they have any other loans, make sure that they're U.S. citizens, or if they're a permanent resident alien, if this is going to continue to be their primary residence, And if obviously if it's their primary residence and they plan to maintain the property, then if they had an ownership interest for the last 3 years, the answer would be yes. This was their principal residence and they owned it solely. Okay. Really, that's about it for the basic information. You'd want to find out what it is that they, what their goal is in refinancing. Most likely, it's to obtain a lower rate. And you can go through the list of questions in the handout, but this is the basic way to enter the information into Calyx Point. Then you're going to save this loan. And we're going to put this in Docking Center and save it as a prospect. Okay. So now when we go into Docking Center and we look for our loan, all of our borrower's information is right here.